Welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the place where you can learn how to create a dental practice and a business life that you love. Listen in with Dr. David Moffet as he interviews successful entrepreneurs and successful business people and successful dentists as they share their business successes, their stories, and their breakthrough ideas, sharing pearls of wisdom that you can take back to your practice and implement immediately so that you can have that great practice with more patients, higher profits, and less stress. This is the podcast where great dental practices meet with successful business processes. Thanks for tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the podcast where thought leaders, industry experts, and thriving practice owners reveal their very best tips, tools, and strategies that will help you grow your dental practice faster. Now, here's your host, Dr. David Moffet.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. David Moffet. I'm in Burrowang in New South Wales in Australia, as you all know, and it is 9:16 a.m. Wednesday morning. My guest today is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, so she is at 7:16 p.m. Tuesday evening, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the podcast studio, Anissa Broussard. Now, some of you may know her as Anissa Holmes, Dr. Anissa Holmes. She goes by both names, and but Anissa, we actually met nearly 10 years ago in Jamaica. We met on LinkedIn and then found out that I was going to be in Jamaica and you were working there, and we got to spend a day in the north of Jamaica, just chewing the fat and discussing dentistry and all things dental and political. Anissa, welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast. Good to see you.
It's so good to see you. It has been a long time. And yeah, I remember that day that you said, I'm going to be in Jamaica for a couple hours on a cruise ship. And while I'm there, I'd love to see you, right? So I actually, at the time, was living in Kingston, which was about 3 hours away. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I drove in. We had a beautiful lunch. And I remember one thing that you shared, which was pretty cool. You're like, you know what? Sometimes I have books, I'm editing a book, I'm writing an article, and I take time for myself and I just go and I'm in my creative mode, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, right? So I didn't share this with you, but after, at the time I was doing courses on Facebook marketing and I needed to update my course, right? Because things are always changing with social media. And I actually went and booked like a 3 days in a hotel where I could just go and just be creative and just like re-record my course. So I took that takeaway from you. But yeah, it's been a really long time and it's good to reconnect.
Well, it's funny you should say that because there's a scene in that Jack Nicholson movie, As Good as It Gets, where he's typing, and he's just a cheap romance writer. That's all, but he's very prolific. But he's typing, and while he's typing, then somebody knocks at his door and gets him out of the zone. And you see, and that's exactly what you need to do. And what you went and did was get in that zone. And I used to enjoy writing in the early morning when I was practicing. I would write. I don't even know how I did it. I'd get up at 3:30 and I'd have a blog written in an hour and a half, and then I'd post it live. And it was just like nobody's around. I can type. I'm in my zone. So it's very powerful. I don't know how people do it with interruptions, but I'm glad you took that away, because I took away something that that your husband had told you about oral surgery, and that was why numb and only work in half the mouth at a time, when oral surgeons, of course, are numbing people up. They're knocking them out, numbing them all up, take all their wisdom teeth out, and those people live and survive that numbness, that paresthesia, while they're recovering. And yet in dentistry, we're worried that doing two fillings on the opposite side is going to cause people some form of discomfort or paralysis. And it never was. So again, I took something away from you that I was able to share with my clients. Like, why are you doing that? Just do it all at once. Because if you ask any dental patient whether they want their work done one filling at a time or as much done as possible, they'll say, go your hardest, doc. I don't want to come back. Just do as much as you can. And they never ask, is it cheaper or anything? So again, sometimes we get taught something that is the wrong paradigm, which is kind of interesting talking about what we're going to talk about today, because when I met you in Jamaica, you were a dentist, but now you're retired. You've hung up your drills and you're now a full-time marketer.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Come full circle. So, 10 years ago, I had a successful practice, and my coach at the time asked me the question, right? And this was after I hit my goal. I was actually a part of Action Coach coaching, and I had received a global award, right? And she's like, "What's next?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to go and do some more fillings, right? Or another crown. And she's like, no, what's your legacy going to be, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, right? Let me write a book, right? And so that's what led me to writing my book, which was published, now it's been probably 10 years now, delivering well. And I started a podcast. I was the first female dentist podcaster in the dental industry years ago. And so what happened was I thought that I would be teaching how to build culture and how to put in processes and systems and like all of the things that I know that you're teaching, right? Like, however, I kept being asked repeatedly, okay, that's great, but what is going on with your social media? How do you have 50,000 people following your practice? And how are you getting 50 patients a month with a really small budget, like $500 US? Like, that doesn't make sense, right? And so I was just like, I don't know. That's just what I do, right? Like, I just figured it out, right? And I started to have doctors to reach out to me again and again and again. And this one doctor in California, Dr. Robert Malone, I will never forget his name. He kept like persisting. I need you to teach me what you're doing, right? And so that led me down this path, speaking to my podcast coach or mentor who was helping me to learn how to do podcasting. He's like, if people are asking you to help them with something, clearly, they see that you can help them. So either you can keep the knowledge in your head or you can help someone, right? And so I was like, okay, right? So that led me to creating the first Facebook marketing course in the dental industry. And that led me to going to ClickFunnels to learn about where I would house my course. That led me to understanding, and it's interesting, I was at that conference and I realized all of the people that were on stage, they had something in common. They were helping like thousands and thousands of people. They were all about purpose and impact. And they were just doing just really good stuff. And so I wound up connecting with Russell Brunson. That conference, I had originally started my Facebook course. The opportunity was there to go to Kenya and to help build a school. And so the initial money that I made for my course, I actually donated it to go on this trip to build this school. And at the time I was teaching my Facebook courses, and Russell Brunson, we were chatting actually in a van in Kenya, and we're talking about funnels. And I was like, yeah, I'll share something that happened for me. And I was talking about how I was teaching this course for dentists, and I made a mistake, and I was using my practice's social media account, right? Like as a test account. And in one day I had 100 appointment requests come in through my funnel. And he was like, wait, what? I didn't even know you can use funnels in a dental practice. Like, what are you talking about? Really? Like, and I was like, yeah. So like, I'm breaking it down and like, we're geeking out all about it. Right. And next thing you know, he's like, I need you to teach like my community, teach marketers. So next thing you know, I'm like teaching at like a smaller event, and then 800 people. And then I spoke at Funnel Hacking Live in front of 5,000 marketers, teaching them. And then I ended up creating the brick and mortar marketing framework. Now, here's the thing, like I was teaching all of this stuff, right? And all of a sudden I heard some noise online, right? And it's interesting how this happens to all of us, right? So I heard this noise, right? This one person or a couple people, right, say, oh, she's a marketing girl. She's a marketing girl. And you know what? It's interesting. So instead of saying, yeah, I'm a marketing girl, I am, right, and owning it, I actually said, oh, well, I can do a lot more than marketing, you know, right? Like I understand communications and how to build great teams, and I understand how to scale companies. Like, and so I took it as a challenge and I started a consulting company. And so I actually got very quiet about marketing because it was almost like I felt like it was a mark of like I wasn't good enough, right? Like I wasn't good enough to teach other things. And so I went on this journey and I started coaching practices and was coaching like 100 practices, right? 100 practices and training teams. And I still actually have about 30 clients that I'm still coaching, not taking on new clients, but these clients are still with me. And so I went down that journey, right? And then all of a sudden I started to do a lot of inner work post my divorce. And I was like, you know what? Like the truth is that like I really don't have anything to prove to anyone. And I started to think about like really my gifts. And interestingly, it actually came from my clients. So they were like, I'm ready to scale. I need to bring in an associate. I need more patients. They were getting more into all-on-4 and airway and like implants and like more complex procedures. And they're like, nobody knows that we're here. Who can help us? And I'm like, and they were like, I know you're teaching it, but my team doesn't have time to learn all of this stuff. Who can you just do it for me? And then I started to hear the call again. Okay. Can't you just do it for me? And so I was literally out with Russell Brunson at a mastermind. I was in his highest level mastermind at that point, which had like 12 people in it. And I was like, Russell, I'm hearing the call. Like, I know you think I've been teaching or doing ads for doctors and running social media, and I'm actually going to start doing it. And so a couple of years ago, I started Digital Floss, which is a marketing agency, and we literally manage everything. So we fly out, we do the scripting, we feed the doctors line by line if they need it, we do the editing, we do professional copywriting, and we distribute the content on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn and X and Google, all because of what's going on with AI, which we'll talk about. Running ads to get 10 to 40,000 people to see it, all geofenced. So like this area or this neighborhood, and it's some pretty cool stuff. And I think it's really interesting because it speaks to a couple things. It speaks to, you know, really getting to our purpose. And it also speaks to like our journey's always perfect. Because without or with having the opportunity to coach and consult and really understand the dynamics of a practice and profitability and why they're not growing, going down a road myself of studying neurolinguistic programming and teaching communication. So now we can better have our practices to become successful. Like it was all perfect. And it shows really like the power of imposter syndrome and replayed out because now I'm just like, you know what? I am the marketing girl. And yeah, you know, like I'm really proud because I know marketing at a very deep level. I've worked with Russell Brunson. I'm in his Expert Secrets book and I'm a dentist and I know what it feels like to want to grow your practice and want to help more people and not be able to have people to know that you're there. And so we're doing really beautiful work with our marketing agency, so much so that I'm not taking on any new clients in coaching and consulting because I've really realized that this is my purpose. And I realized I can die with this stuff, right, within my head, or I can live my purpose and to help as many colleagues as I can. So that's a little bit of my journey. And I did retire. I retired from clinical practice 5 years ago.
Well, good on you. And having retired from clinical practice myself,
Yeah.
People used to ask me, how do you feel not seeing patients anymore?
I actually quite love it. I think what happened with me is I got bored. I think that for me, that was like my experience. And like, first I was doing fillings and like the bread and butter, right? And then I got bored. And then I went into like the advanced reconstruction and like, smiles that were like all over the place. And I could see, that's my gift, to be able to see, right? Like a seer. So I could see what it would look like and I could make it look like that, right? And so that was kind of fascinating until it just got to be routine. And then I wasn't like, I got bored, right? And so I think for me, solving problems and creating things that have not existed before is something that I really, I really enjoy, and I know is part of my purpose. And so again, that was a really important part of my journey. And I practiced clinically for 20 years. It was interesting. I was at an event over the weekend. So Straumann Implant Company had a conference in Miami, and Dr. Mark Costas was speaking at the event. And so I was in his lecture, and he was talking about all the different business ventures that he has now. He has a implant training institute, and he's got his consulting and like all the things. And he mentioned that he has also his foundation where they do all of this, like they're setting up clinics to do free dentistry all over the world. And he's like, I will never do dentistry again for a fee. So he does dentistry in his free clinics. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'd do that. You know what I mean? Like, I would totally do that. Right. So, and I thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
It's nice to have those choices.
Yeah.
I'd like to wind back to something that you said, that you've created, I guess you've created a position for yourself where you help your customers, your clients, dental practices, to have really a one-stop marketing place to go. And there's a parallel to that with a dental practice. Some dental practices refer out the ortho, they refer out the endodontics, they refer out the oral surgery, and others do as much as they can in-house because the patients really trust the establishment, and they trust that the care that they're going to get. Plus, they have that familiarity. I don't have to go and find this specialist. You've got the specialist here, and I get to see the rest of your team while I'm seeing the specialist. So and I think I'm tying this back because that's one of the fears that any business owner has. If I hire somebody to do this part of my marketing, what about the other parts that they don't know? And are they able to do it? Do they say they can't, or do they say they can and they can't? So to be an authority and be able to say, well, we can do it all, that gives peace of mind to your clients and customers that, they don't have to talk to the SEO guy and then the AdWords guy and then the guy who does the flyers that go in people's letterboxes.
Clarify, we don't do it all. But what we do, which I think is really important, and I know a lot of your listeners are in Australia, is to have a marketing agency that really is there to serve you from the heart. And I think that is the most important thing. So, for example, what do we do, right? So we fly out, we get social media content, and then we edit the photos, we edit the videos, right? And then we are putting ads so that people are seeing them in this street or that neighborhood or in the US, this zip code or this zip code, right? So we're getting 10 to 40,000 views. And then people are now, when they're clicking on it, they're going to a landing page or a funnel that has a really powerful emotional video where the doctor's like, imagine if we built a business that focused on putting the team first, right? And then the team members are like, I've never worked for a doctor like this. And over here, we're like family, right? And the patients are giving their input. And then to the right of it is a huge widget, right? Where people can request an appointment. And then what we're doing is we're taking the content, we're putting on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube and Google, right? So that you can get seen in ChatGPT or Alexa, right? Or Siri, right? But what we don't do is we don't do, for example, websites, right? We don't do websites. We don't do actually pay per click. But what we do is I say, I don't want to build a brand that is Neiman Marcus and your website looks like the dollar store, right? And I don't know if they're like US brands or whatever, but like you get the point, right? And so when we fly out and get content, we're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to put this emotional video on YouTube. I want you to have your website team to take that video and also put it on the above fold on your website so that now you can have more conversions when people go to your actual practice website. And, I'm telling them, a lot of websites, the way they were designed, it's just because nobody has like challenged the design, I believe, right? But that's what I do is I challenge things. I can't help it, right? But like most websites, the schedule now or request appointment button is so small, it's like a scavenger hunt. So what we see a lot of times is that when people are going to a practice website, it's like a scavenger hunt looking for the schedule button, right? And so what we love to do is to say, you know what, take the YouTube embedded video, put it there. If you don't have a widget, we'll give you the widget that we're using for the funnel, right? And that way you can get more conversions. The other thing is like really helping our doctors to understand what pay-per-click ads really are, right? So even though we don't do them, and understanding why Google ads are costing so much. And I'd love to share that and really help people to understand that, for example, a couple years ago, right, when we would do our research for a family vacation, we would sit down, we'd have a cup of coffee, and we would do our due diligence on our desktop, right? Now everything has completely changed. So people are picking up their phone and are like, Siri, what time does the pharmacy close, right? Or they're asking questions. And what happens is it's actually taking people to Apple Maps. It's not even going to Google. Or people are now using ChatGPT to do their search, right? So as a result of it, fewer people are going to Google. And as a result of it, my theory is that is why Google ads are so expensive or more expensive, because in the past we give Google a certain amount of money and we would get 10 leads. And now because fewer people are going to Google, what's happening is that we are giving Google that amount of money and we're getting fewer eyeballs. So we're getting fewer leads. We want the same number of leads. So we're having to give Google more money. And so it's really important for me, for other colleagues to understand this. Not that it's not relevant to do Google ads, because people are obviously still searching on Google. But what's happening now in 2025 is that the monopoly is breaking up, right? So you have people that are searching on, all of these different AI platforms, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, like who knows in 3 months what's going to be another one that comes out. And, even the newest iPhone and the update on the latest version, when you go to search, it's asking you, do you want me to search with ChatGPT? Right? And so we need to really be aware of this, because so many practices, because Google was the only main monopoly, even though there was Bing, right? There was always this focus of, let me get Google reviews, Google reviews, Google reviews, Google ads. But now that people are shifting away, a colleague of mine, or ours, in the US, her name's Dr. Catherine Alderman. She actually just received last year She went through a program at MIT in AI. And we were talking about a year ago, and she's like, Anissa, what you're doing in your agency, she says, you have no idea how far ahead your doctors are going to be, because I'm telling you, this was her theory and I'm starting to see it. She's like, in 2 years, nobody's going to be using Google. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, everybody's going to be using ChatGPT. See, she knew because she was at MIT doing this program. And I was like, and this was like 6 months ago, 8 months ago. And she was like, start taking the content that you're making for your doctors and you want to start distributing it on Google. You want to start training the platforms to pick it up. So we started doing that. And as we started getting further into it, I was like, oh my gosh. So we need to get not just in Google, but we want to distribute on LinkedIn. We want to distribute on X. We want to get content on YouTube. And it's interesting, a couple things. So Microsoft owns LinkedIn. Okay. Microsoft owns Bing. Bing is the second largest, or was, or is the second largest search engine because it's preloaded on all of the Microsoft devices. Okay. And so Bing is actually currently, and also Microsoft has invested heavily in OpenAI and ChatGPT. All right. And so currently, when you go to Alexa, it's pulling content from Bing, prioritizing over Google as well as AI and ChatGPT. Now, it may change. I'm just speaking of where we're at right now. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that we want to be posting on LinkedIn, right? We want to be posting on X, because X is a social platform that when we make the post on there, the tweets, if you will, in real time, it's now being pushed to Bing, and Bing is being prioritized. So that's why now we are literally taking content, we are putting it on Google. So when now you do a Google search for the practice, you'll see their videos talking about airway or talking about all on four, right? So these are the videos that we make when we go and shoot. But when they watch the video right there on the Google, that's completely free, by the way. You don't have to pay for ads for this. It's increasing SEO on Google, but you click on the video and it's not an ad, but you click on the video and you can set it up so it says learn more. And that's taking people right back to the funnel where we're able to have them to schedule an appointment. And so all of the social platforms are all like linked and backlinked. And so what we're seeing is within 2 or 3 weeks, practices are showing up in AI and ChatGPT searches. And another thing that's recently happened with ChatGPT. So about a month ago, a couple months ago, you go in, you say, hey, I want a dentist in, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And it would give us 3 doctors, and again, not going to Google, just 3 websites. Okay. I'm recommending this one. Now, as of this recording, who knows a month from now, but as of this recording, which is why I kept having to make my Facebook course over and over again, all right? Because there's always these changes. So now what's happening is that ChatGPT has research. Okay, so what is research? I say, I want to find a dentist in Fort Lauderdale who's from New Orleans. So I'm originally from New Orleans. It will say, so that I can help you more, so that I can do better research, do you want a male or a female? Do you want someone who takes a particular insurance, right? Do you want a cosmetic dentist or any specialty so that it can help me more? All right. So then what happens is it first goes to websites and it scans websites. Then it goes to LinkedIn. Then it scans Facebook. Then it scans Instagram, right? So what's happening now is social media used to be like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to have social media. Some people, because they didn't really understand how it really works when you do the ads, which are so cheap on video. But now I'm being bold to say that what's happening with AI in 2025, like for those who are not doing social, I'm not fear mongering to say you're going to be left out. That's not my intention. But you can understand what I'm saying. Like if it's going to pull up content and you're not there, then you can't be recommended, right?
No, yeah, you can't. Yes. I can't believe how quickly things are changing.
It's changing so fast. And the truth is that what I believe is happening, and is that now, to help people better, it's actually making recommendations based on human connection, even though it's all of this robots and AI, right? And so people that are building real connection, like in our agency, what I tell doctors when I talk to them is, we are here. Yes, the agency or the marketing is the tool. Just put that over there for a minute. What are we doing over here? Right? Like, we're helping people get seen as their authentic self, so that people who need to heal can find them and be healed. That's what we do. And so when we go in and we're recording a video that's saying, if you've been thinking about implants and you've got some questions, you might be wondering, am I going to need a prescription? I mean, I'll give you one if you need one, but you're probably not going to need one. And at the end of the visit, you'll probably ask yourself, what was I so afraid of? And at the end of the video, you're saying something like, you know what? Come in, let's talk about it. After we talk about it, then we'll figure it out. Like, that is connecting, not from the head, right? Which is discounts. And no, it's connecting from the heart. And so when we're able to connect from the heart, and then we're able to use technology, which would be like Facebook ads or Meta ads or Instagram ads, to say, who do I want to see this? I want people to see it that are in this zip code or this neighborhood, or maybe it's a business that has a very good insurance plan and you want all of the employees to come to you because the plan is great. We can target that building. I mean, I was at the last Funnel Hacking Live Marketing Conference and as an attendee, and there were speakers on stage that had books and courses and programs, and they couldn't mention it. You know, that's not allowed. But they were literally targeting us because I'm on my phone and it's saying, if you're at Funnel Hacking Live, I'd love to give you a free copy of my book. I'm like, these people are clever. They're targeting me here at the conference. Well, we can do that, right? And so now we're able to do that if it's like a particular company or whatever, right? And so now they see you of who you are authentically, and we can get 10 to 30 to 40,000. And here's the thing, guys, like, you might be like, that's great, Anissa, but you're in America, I'm in Australia, right? Like, how can this help me? And so I'd love to share some insight, right? Because we can't help everybody. And I mean, we're flying to Canada, but Australia, that might be a long trip every 4 months, right? So how do we get that done? So, you know, if you're wanting to do it on your own, you can hire a video guy to come and do the content. He can make content every 3 or 4 months. We do it in our system is every 4 months we go and get content. Okay. You know, we don't do this. We have a real copywriter, but you could go into ChatGPT and, you know, you can say, I want to do some scripts for social media that is talking about implants. And you can talk to it in your voice as if you were talking to a patient, right? So make the words or the copy. You could hire somebody, or somebody in your office could run ads, right? But, you know, there are people I know in Australia. There's some really good people that are there that are able to run ads for you, right? So the thing is, like, don't just be like, I can't do this, because you can't do this. You just have to say, who can I get that can help me, right? So it's like the who, not the how, Benjamin Hardy, you know? Yes. The who, not the how, which we had him actually at my conference last year, which was so awesome, right? So get somebody that can do that. Get somebody that can run ads for you, you know, in the US or, and it doesn't even have to be US. You can go to Upwork, which is global, or, you know, you can find somebody, outsource, you know, people that can do this for you, but don't not do it. And when you're like, I don't have time for my team to distribute videos on Instagram and LinkedIn and X and, you know, no, you don't have time. But if you can get even a virtual assistant or somebody that can help you, then you can get it done. So I'm more giving you the strategy, right? Like, I want to be a good colleague to you and just get the word out. That's the whole point for me on this podcast, We can't help everybody in our agency. We may not be able to be accessible to you, but if I want to spark some curiosity into you, because it's kind of like, David, before we went live, you were saying, the truth is that a lot of people right now are paying for 2021 marketing, 2021 strategies, even 2024 strategies. Okay. To be honest with you. And they're frustrated because it's not working, and they keep jumping from agency to agency. And so I'm just sharing with you so you can understand the truth about Google ads. Not that they're not working, but why they're going to cost more. And again, as you're interviewing, if you're going to hire an agency, somebody who's going to, maybe they don't do all of the things. And we actually at one point did do a couple of websites, and we did do Google ads. And I decided to completely come out of it. I'm like, we want to keep competing with ourselves on what we're doing with AI, SEO, which is called GEO, and what we're doing on the social and the funnels. Like, we want to not that other people will not. Right now, there is no other agency in the US doing what we're doing. Period. It doesn't exist. Others will come, perhaps, right? But for us, we want to just keep competing against ourselves, so that every time something is new, like we're about to start distributing directly on Bing. So we're picking up another platform, right? So you want to work with somebody who's always like willing to test new things and be innovative.
Well, I think the message that you've already given everybody is that not to just think that Google will always be there at number one. And there's plenty of other industries where number one has fallen by the wayside because of either their failure to act, and Kodak's the best example of that. We're not doing digital; we're going to stick with film. And I shouldn't laugh, because a lot of businesses that relied on Kodak went sour because of that. And you've raised an interesting point in what you've said, Anissa, in terms of that consistency. And a lot of dental practices, even on the basic level, don't, the message that they put in their marketing isn't there when people go to their website. It isn't there when people ring their office. It isn't there when people turn up at their office. Outside their office, they say, we're a great cosmetic practice, and their lawns need mowing. Their windows need painting. It's about making sure that everything matches the message, because it's the subliminal things in a dental practice that turn patients off. Some patients have actually come in the door all excited, and then they'll hear something or see something before they get to meet the dentist, and they go, I can't wait for this to be over. I'm not coming back. And the dentist goes, oh, they were a shopper. No, something in your client lounge needed cleaning. But it's about making sure that everything matches. And so that's really, really important. So if they're going to, I love that you've actually reminded me, because a few years ago I was using geofencing down here, and I'd just completely forgotten about it, because when events stopped, then I'm not going to events. So how do I find my audience? So I just dropped it. And now I realize I need to get in touch with my geofencer again. Now I live on a farm. My fences are all barbed wire, but the principle's exactly the same. If you've got holes in your fence, if you've got a fence, then you keep your audience, your cattle in, and that's really, really important. Also really important what you said about Bing, because they've been around a long time, but they've been trying to work out now they're owned by Microsoft. There's their conduit into the number one position, and Google's losing that position.
Google definitely losing it. And I mean, for Apple to have a partnership with ChatGPT, Apple is not happy. Apple and Google are not friends. Okay. And Google and Facebook are not friends. Like none of them are friends. They're not friends, right? So the interesting thing is even Apple with Facebook and Meta, like when you run your ads on your own for your phone, from an iPhone at least, it's charging you an in-app purchase fee, which is like 25% of the ad costs or something like that when you do it on your own. So that makes it even more frustrating sometimes, right? So, you know, that's why sometimes it's like, just get an agency, because we don't run them from a phone. Like, we run them in Meta. We run them from a desktop, not through an Apple device, right? So it's like, people don't even understand those things. But like, yeah, I mean, the big thing is that things are changing. That's the whole thing. Like, again, I want to make this podcast so that you can take away not feeling overwhelmed, but you can leave having awareness more than anything. And like, again, it can be simple, guys. Like, it's literally, let's record some videos that talk about, you know, how you're helping people, and, you know, what you love about your team, you know, speaking from the heart. And if you need help, you can go to ChatGPT and ask them to make scripts for you and get a teleprompter. Like, figure it out, you know. There's an app on your phone called Captions. If you want to do it on your own, you can use the Captions app. Actually, it actually can build scripts for you, and you can read it off your phone, and it can put the words on it and stuff like that. I mean, it's not the quality of what we would do professionally, but it's like 70% or 80%, which is 80% better than what you're doing right now if you're doing nothing. And then that can now go into a Google Drive, and now you can hire a VA that can now take the video and distribute it for you and upload it to, you know, all of the platforms for you. And so it's just like, instead of I can't, be like, all right, if I want to be found in 2025, like, this is what SEO means now, you know? So hopefully it's been helpful.
Well, it has been very helpful, but I think you've waved the magic apple, but you've taken it away, because you said, like, everyone's saying, oh, I need to hire Anissa and her company, but you said you're not taking on new clients. So even for people in the US.
Well, we are taking on clients in the agency. I was saying, in the consulting company, I'm no longer doing practice consulting, which is similar to what you're doing. They've got you, David. They don't need me for that, right? But on the agency, we are taking clients. So we're growing really, really fast. Right now, we're in the US and Canadian market. I mean, my videographers obviously would love to go to Australia. It just takes so long to get there, right? So we would definitely have to factor that in, you know, in terms of if somebody was like, we absolutely want you to do it, because we're coming out 3 times a year, right? So just the logistics, right? It's just the logistics. But yeah, it's pretty powerful when you can. And I would say, like, if you want to see examples of content, like, our Instagram is Digital Floss. So you can follow our Instagram, and then from there, we're always reposting content from our clients, so you can get a sense of like what we're doing, which is really cool stuff.
So there is hope for those. For those in the US, there is hope. Just reach out to Anissa and her company, Digital Floss. And for those in Australia, you're going to have to knock on her door a lot, all of you, to see if she'll organise a tour for.
You know what we'll probably do? We'll be like, all right, all the practices in Australia, we're coming in for like, hey, you see, I'm figuring it out. Like, we're going to come in on this week, and we're going to do 5 practices, and then we'll come again. I think that could work.
Well, that's the way to do it. In fact, that I hired a hygiene consultant from the US, and she came down and spoke to 6 practices all at once over the weekend, and then she went to 3 practices, and the other 3 came to one each of those, and so she did it in a week, and changed those businesses forever.
All right, so you guys who are clients of Dr. Moffet, or reach out to us, and we'll figure it out, right? But yeah, there's always a way, right? That's when you're a strategist. You're like, wait, I'm sitting there going, how can we figure this out, right?
Well, it's simple. Sadly, a lot of dentists don't work together, and they don't want to work together. But in this sort of situation, this is the way to do it. Let's work out how we can bring Anissa down and her team down to get this happening for half a dozen dental practices in Australia.
Yeah.
It's already going through my head. Anissa, this has been great. I've got no idea of time, as I mentioned, because my time monitor is covered over. What's the best way for anybody to get in touch with you after watching this podcast?
Yeah, so definitely Digital Floss is our website. That leads to be able to have a call with me. My email is Anissa, ANISSA at digitalfloss.com. And then our Instagram is Digital Floss.
All right. So if they go to digitalfloss.com,
they'll find me.
They can find the make an appointment button. Easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not hidden. No, that's great. Anissa Broussard, it's been great catching up with you. You have expanded my brain. It's bursting with all these possibilities because it's interesting, because one of the things in dentistry I find with people, with marketers in the US, is why would they leave such a big market in the US to come to a small market in Australia? You know, the population of Australia is the same population of the 5 boroughs of New York or the population of Texas, and you can get there really quickly to both of those. It's not like the old music industry where you had to go and break into a new market so that you then break back into your own market, like Kiss and ABBA used to do, and that's how they got big. And Billy Joel as well, all broke in Australia before they broke in their own markets. But in the US is a big market, and of course now everything is so digital and online. People can find you without you having to travel. But I like the idea that we could possibly have a solution for Australia. Because
and what's interesting is, like, I know the market in Australia. When I started my Facebook course, 8-10 years ago, outside of the US, I actually had more practices in Australia than in the US. Was first, obviously Australia was second, because the type of marketing that we do is not about discounts and ads, right? And so I don't know if things have changed, but I know at least at the time, the doctors were like, we can work with you because you're not talking about discounts. It's not saying I'm the best, right? It's just really just letting people become aware of how you help. And it has to be like authentic marketing. And so that's what really resonated. And I helped a lot of practices back in the day with the Facebook courses because the doctors were going through the course. But things have definitely gotten a little bit, they've changed. And again, the ChatGPT is meaning that we have to distribute in more platforms. But yeah, we'd love to be able to see how we can make it work if there's an interest there.
Well, hopefully we can. And as you said, things are changing. So, Anissa Broussard, thank you for being a guest on the Ultimate Dental Podcast. Again, it's been really great to reconnect with you, and I look forward to chatting again with you very, very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of our dental community and joining us each week on this incredible journey. If you found value in today's episode and you don't want to miss out on future episodes packed with expert insights and actionable strategies, here's how you can stay connected with us. Firstly, hit that subscribe button. Whether you're listening on your favorite podcast platform or watching on our website, subscribing ensures you'll never miss an episode. Secondly, share the love. If you know a fellow dentist or colleague who could benefit from the wisdom and knowledge that we share here, please share our podcast with them. Also, please share the podcast on your socials by simply clicking on the social icons wherever you view or listen to this podcast. Together, we can all do our bit to elevate the dental profession. And finally, stay engaged with us. We love hearing from you. Your questions, comments, and feedback fuel our mission to provide the best content for your professional growth, your personal growth, and for your practice growth. Remember, your journey to creating a dental practice and a business life that you love is our mission, and we're excited to be your trusted guide along the way. Thank you for being a part of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and keep on tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast.